of these unit-producing structures as he should be. Looks like Vikings slowly making their way out. Not a ton. Looks like we have 3 out. This will be a good way to finally bust in, but no need to have gotten a bunch way earlier. So HuK going to try to do a little swing around counterattack. And it looks like Silver is just hanging out here, and this probably is the first big blunder I've seen Silver do, is to just not see that there's this huge force coming over here. That's one of those obvious, definitely spot this, but Silver, no matter, he's made so many good decisions beforehand, he simply attacks into the base, and everything's great. Yep, and there's the stim. Now, I just want to slow it down. Watch how not quickly these Colossi are killing off all of these Medic Marine. So that's why the Vikings, you don't need huge, enormous Viking numbers. You just need a good amount, just a decent, solid-ish amount of Vikings. Now I'm going to briefly remove my overlay. So, spoiler, that game was actually 17 minutes long. Just to sort of review, because I just think it's so cool the way that this game played out, that Silver rushed up to build a bunker over here in his opponent's front, and use that nice little micro to try to draw things in, just to get a good key little control point here as we speed right along. Let me just advance it. Yep, there we go. So yeah, look at this, nice little contain. Seems cheesy, but hey, you can build the bunker back in safer spots and still use the same general technique. Awesome micromanagement, and now is using this to buy time for all those essential upgrades, even getting a Hellion in there, starting to get factories, completing the tech tree. Love the fact that he waited a long time to expand. We've been seeing a lot of super fast expanding by Terrans against Protoss, so I would just dig the variety. And then, of course, Protoss really should have popped back, killed this off, and expanded, but hey, I killed so much off, it seems reasonable to attempt to counterattack. It really does, and hey, look, HuK with his clever pylon placement can reinforce even faster, but still not going to be enough to break down the front doors. In the meantime, it's bought all this extra ability to expand, and just great. And of course, once Silver is in this spot, and as we advance forward, I mean, really not that much happens from this point on. I mean, there's a little bit of movement out. We do see Terran kind of go up here and set up a contain, but once he has the expansion up, watch the food differential. It's the same right now, and just watch the green number pull farther and farther ahead. Look, suddenly like 15 food ahead, and then these Colossi, suicide. Just very slow, methodical. Oh yeah, the Reaper. Cool. Sweet. Awesome. So I don't know anything about this Silver player, but he's definitely not a Silver Leaguer, and I want to see more of him. I want to see more of the sauce. So let's go ahead and take some questions. And of course, HuK. HuK, who coincidentally always gets the short end of my stick. I think he's awesome. I totally was delighted when he could accept to the King of the Beta. But then there was this crisis where one of his replays got lost for the King of the Beta tournament, so it took like 4 days extra to be able to cast his win against Tester. And then, you know, in a lot of the games that I coincidentally load up of him, he's on the losing side. But I just want to say, it's because HuK is so good that really impresses me about Silver. The fact he's able to just do a nice dissection of HuK's play like that. So, oh yeah, I'll do this one. From C. Esteban, who says, how come you don't do any more Brood War dailies? There are so many awesome games with OSL and MSL going on. Yeah, there's a lot of awesome games. In particular, you should watch Fantasy vs. Call on Matchpoint. I love Fantasy's play, his opening on that one. But the reason I don't do that is because I'm just... The dailies are an opportunity for me, really, to dive down into a lot of strategies and see a bunch of extra stuff. So I'm so selfish in that regard. I'll probably end up doing some of that good stuff, some of the sauce there. So, let's see. Oh, here's a great question from Pererin TV. Day 9, there are rumors that Silver is a girl. What do you think about it? Dude, 100% of people who play StarCraft are guys. Let's be honest here. Next question. Moving right ahead. Scrolling down. Oh, yeah, Fraptor, who says, what was the Protoss' best option when he was in that position? Was there any way he could expand? Now, there's 2 things I want to say about the spot HuK was in. First of all, that seems a little unusual. I would have been thrown off personally as Protoss there. And let's actually pretend that we're laddering. Let us suppose we're on the ladder. Tell me this hasn't happened to you, especially in your placement matches, where you get paired against someone who very clearly doesn't know what they're doing. You know, they're not one of us people who play the beta for 4 friggin' months. You know, it's like their first time playing, and they do some goofy strategy where they're bringing like tanks and Hellions and 10 SCVs and making like bunkers and supply depots. And at first you're like, whoa, well that's weird. But then you kill it off, and you go to his base, and he doesn't have anything, and you win immediately. And you kind of go, well, what is that idiot doing? What was that guy? Come on, free wins on the man. And it's a good, I don't want to say a good habit, but it's this mental habit that you get yourself in, where after you hold off something goofy and unexpected, generally if you counterattack, you can just take the win right there. So in HuK's defense, I mean, honestly, I probably in that spot would have killed it off and been like, all right, sweet. I've only seen Marauders, a handful of Marines. I'm just going to push with Stalkers, 2 Sentries, and an Immortal. Oh, sweet, I can even get 2 more Zealots in there. Gravy, I'm going to win. I don't know why I keep saying gravy today, but I guess I'm cooking some tonight. Yeah, so I completely understand why HuK ended up winning, or doing that in that particular spot, but there's nothing wrong. Think of it this way. If for some reason your opponent was going to be completely crushed by your counterattack, then expanding and playing a little safely after you defend that contain, that's also going to get you a win almost 100%. So what I think that HuK should have done is just expand, get an observer, check what's up. Okay, cool, great. Because HuK was sort of siloed in what he had to do after he lost his big counter push. Because the front got crushed there. And he was basically like, oh my god, he does have a lot of Marines and he has a lot of stuff. Time to get a Colossus. Makes perfect sense in that regard, but just don't want to be in that spot where you're kind of like, well, I have to do this. Because, you know, if you're a good player like Silver, you can exploit that. So I said that I had 2 things, and I actually did the second thing, which is the expand and get the observer. But I just did not enumerate it explicitly. Ha. So, oh yeah, can I eat my cursor? Alright, that was a good bit of fun. Cool. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, I have an important announcement to make. The tournament announcements. I want everybody to know that, of course, I'm going to Germany to shoutcast the Intel Extreme Masters Tournament, but also in Ventura, California at the Green Forest LAN Cafe. They're hosting an awesome tournament where they're even building like pro gamer booths, and all the best players in America are going to be there. And you should definitely register for that event as an observer because, you know, they just want to make sure that a ton of people are going. So I'm going. I'm going to be commenting that as well. It's August 14th and 15th. Look up Green Forest Cafe on teamliquid.net. Do it. So that way you can attend. So, oh yeah, Araf says, is there any way, as the Protoss in a PvT, to stay primarily on gateway units? Every time I've tried, Marauder Tank has countered it, even when I have the charge blink upgrades. Grades! You hear my voice crack there? By the way, just to be clear, this shirt expresses my inner emotion, and there's still a little bit of sugar from that delicious coffee cake I had beforehand. But what I would say is about the primarily gateway units, I think we're starting to see more and more that you really do need the fast detection as the Protoss pieces, because Banshees are such an obnoxious threat. In fact, I remember Jinro basically saying, yeah, if he doesn't get a Robo-Bay, I a lot of times just rush for a Banshee with Cloak and win outright. So, pretty important to get Cloak early on, but I absolutely think the gateway units are awesome. Getting primarily Stalker mix in there and having observers to sort of defend everything and cover all your sides. And if for some reason he starts getting some, like, way too many Marauders, you can just throw in 2 or 3 Immortals and you will crush those forces pretty easily. And then afterwards, what I do is switch to like Templar and Zealots with the charge upgrade and start using warp prisms to warp in various locations and pick them off, or do what HuK does, build pylons around the map. It's very effective to do, but I absolutely recommend just the Stalkers and the Observers first. Very similar to Dragoon Observer in Brood War, because still concaves are a lot easier to form with Stalkers because they're so fast. So. I will take just a few more questions. We've been going for about 40 minutes now. I want to make sure it's a nice little cute, short, cute daily. I like using cute twice. Let us see. Oh, here's a great question. From Boiling Hell, who says, Sir Day 9, I have a lot of trouble going from mid-game play to more late game play. If a game doesn't end in the first 15 minutes, I can't keep up tech-wise. Any tips? So this is always how I organize my thoughts, and this has helped me so much throughout the years, especially when I start encountering unorthodox or weird situations. I think about what I want to do in the mid-game first. That is always the first thing that I do. And after that, Actually, let me explain a little bit more. It's because the mid-game tends to converge in a lot of strategy games. StarCraft, absolutely. StarCraft 2, slightly less so than StarCraft 1. But let's use StarCraft 1 as an example. Terran versus Zerg. What do you see in the middle of the game for Terran? Well, you see 5 barracks, 2 engineering bays upgrading. You have 1 science vessel has just popped out, and you have 5 or so tanks, 4 or 5 tanks with siege mode, and 40 medic marine. Most typical things in the world. I'll enumerate it again. 5 barracks, 2 engineering bays, factory, starport, 40 medic marine, tank, science vessel. Right? This is always, 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 always what you see. So in the mid game, I just think about that first. I want to go for that mix. Cool. Then what I do is I create a late game plan. Just a general plan, nothing super specific. I spend most of my time thinking about the mid game, but the late game, I get pretty vague. And as long as there is a plan, I'm really happy. So what would I say is Terran in that spot if it were Brood War? I'd say, okay, when I do this push, I want to add on 2 more barracks and another starport, and then after that I want to try to expand. It's just a plan, and you can have it go on longer. You can say, okay, and after I get that expansion, I'm going to make 2 more factories, I'm going to start getting vultures with mines, and I'm going to take my 4th. Like, that is just a very general, simple thing. I'm not getting into any specifics. I'm not saying what food I do what at. Like, I'm not, at 123 food, I'm going to begin getting exactly 7 vultures, and my money should be this. I have no idea what the hell is going to be happening then, but I have a plan. And then at the start, then I finally come back to the opening of the game, and I say, how the hell do I get to my mid-game best? So, for instance, I would say, on this map, I like early expanding. So, as Terran, I would early expand, and then I would try to get to the point where I have my 5 barracks, my 2 engineering bays, my factory, my starport. I would try to get there. And in the process of trying to figure out how to get there, I'm learning the opening. Any decision or any problem I encounter gets bent back to the mid-game. Like, for instance, oh my god, there's a bunch of Mutalisks and Zerglings coming at me. Better add on more barracks early and start getting a whole bunch of medic marine to be able to deal with that fluid army that Zerg's throwing at me. Oh no, my Zerg opponent went lurkers instead of Mutalisks first. I better get my factory and my tanks out earlier. But then, in the case where I made all those barracks against the Mutalisks, then I'd build the factory in the starport. Or in the case where I built my tanks first, then I would build my barracks and my starport. Like, you just sort of reorder things. So, for instance, in this situation where I'm looking at Silver's play, if I were Silver, I'd probably say something like, I want to have a 2 to 3 tank push with 1 medevac, a good amount of Marine Marauders, and just a dash of Hellions. That's the mix of army that I want. So I would then look at the late game and say, and once I get in that spot, I want to be able to take 2 more expansions. I want to begin upgrading. I want to have 5 core unit producing structures, and I want to gear up to get some Ravens. Very simple late game plan. And then the opening, the final step I would come to is say, well, maybe if I opened up with a cute little push with Marauders and Marines, and then eventually got the Hellions in there to be really aggressive, then I could defend a counter push and slowly flow into my mid-game. So that is absolutely, absolutely the advice that I would give. It's mid-game, late game, early game. And once you have that mid and late game plan at the end, oh my god, it's so helpful, because you'll get in some funky-ass situations. But then you can always say to yourself, well, I guess I lost my main, but I have 2 more bases. And I still want to end up going for this Raven Tank Marine Marauder composition. No reason that that's suddenly bad. But, that's my plan. So with that, whomp! I'm done with this daily. Finishing it. Definitely go check out the Green Forest Cafe. Sign up. I'll be there. I'd absolutely love to meet you. Kind, noble viewers. And then I'm going to be going to Germany, to Cologne. So without any further ado, goodbye! Thanks for tuning in. Ciao.